This is another, what's wrong with this picture? I'm just going to do a voiceover on, I captured this from another YouTuber. He took a picture, had nothing to do with this image actually, but I picked on this image. You can see that the sun, the source is over here, okay, and it's emitting light into the atmosphere. And I'm saying, what's wrong with this picture? What's wrong with this picture? Do 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 do. All right, so my thought on this is that if the light source is 93 million miles away and it hits this tiny little ball floating in space, and in my mind, and I'm open to a better explanation that makes sense, not just, oh, you're so full of it, yeah, science is clear and all that. No, tell me, why is the light dispersing at such severe angles into the atmosphere? You can clearly see this. Clearly, these lines should all be parallel. The light reflected in the atmosphere should all be parallel, considering how far the light source is. All that light coming in is coming in parallel. It's not diffuse the way it is diffusing from this angle to this angle down here is, I don't know, maybe 30 degrees. That's ridiculous. So, you know, what's wrong with this picture again? And like I said in my last video, facts don't seem to matter. Or at least finding an explanation that makes sense. What I called the a posteriori. That means you are experiencing something, you observe something, and you come to a conclusion the best you can with the intelligence that we have. So I give credit to people that investigate what are now considered to be this investigation, the scientific method, could be a good idea. Could be a good idea. But it doesn't exist anymore because I say to myself, all right, give me the explanation for this, but the facts don't seem to matter, which this is basically the gist of this video, this comment I'd like to make, that why don't things ever change? And it's because the facts don't matter. The facts can be, even though it's somehow right in front of us, like this incredible disaster that occurred at Fukushima on March 11th, 2011, the facts are in front of us, but a sense of urgency, even a sense of desperation around this within people that are aware of the value that we place on life. We seem to place a lot of value on life in the talk, like more is said than done. More is said than done always. Very little is done. In the talk, life is important, but everything, all the actions are to the contrary. And people like myself say, well, why don't the facts matter? So what is my strategy? What is my worldview? How do I transition out of this understanding that the facts don't really matter? And we can pound the table like Khrushchev pounded the UN catapult with his shoe, his famous speech, and he's pounding his shoe. I feel like I'm pounding a shoe if I talk about the facts, which is why I don't want to talk about the facts. I want to talk about something that actually makes a difference in us, because obviously the facts don't. The information doesn't. It's out there. We all know, but for some reason we accept that this light source is 93 million miles away. And why is the dispersal this way? Ask yourself, why are the light that is entering the atmosphere dispersed in this way? It's not refraction. No, it's not refraction. Why is it you know, why isn't it all going refracting in the same direction? This means, to me, the sun is a hell of a lot closer. And you can probably determine the distance of this light source by doing a mathematical calculation to figure out by the angles that you see. You can probably determine it's maybe 5,000 miles or something like that. I don't know how far. 3,000 to 5,000 miles. This has been a suggestion. Anyway, now, the point that I want to make in this is what really matters. What I'm saying is that people who are exposing the facts in the best way they can and have their advocacy, they pick your fight. I always say pick your fight. But for me, the fight has transitioned from what we understand to be reality, the way it's propagated. As long as we continue to regurgitate a narrative, and the narrative also is the criticism that we see, the obvious flaw in the stories we're being told. If we continuously focus on that story, we're in their headlights. That's what I'm saying. So I want you to be in my headlights, or just the feeling that we relate to each other, not from a factual basis, but from a sense of self that comes through an experience of self that actually matters. And I criticize the brain side of things, the intellect. I love thinking, I love talking, exchanging thoughts. But when it really comes down to the meaning in my life, the greatest pleasure that I have is imparting something to another through, in my process, a painting that gives people a sense of themselves through something I've done. Not something I'm telling you that you should think about, but something that you do. Is like if you commit an act of kindness, it's not an intellectual thing. People absorb that. Like I said in my video, you have to, in order to be able to give, you have to have a plug. You got to plug in. So it's kind of like this thing. If you are committing acts of kindness, but there is no one to receive, it kind of doesn't work. So it's a reciprocal thing. It really helps me if I am giving something for a person to receive. In fact, Kabbalistically interpreted, the interpretation of the word Bible in Kabbalah is kibbel or kivel, which means receive. So Bible basically is a plug that is looking for a receptor. And my thoughts, my intent, the intent behind what I'm doing when I post my videos is to alert the part in the listener that begins to transition from what we have been used to in culture and civilization to relate everything that we experience to something someone else has propagated or told us, which is why art is fabulous. I find this the last bastion, a kind of, for me, there's other things, obviously, but for me, the last bastion of pure give, receive experience. That's why I do it. I'm sure that's why I do it. So what's wrong with this picture? And I will continue. And I've been thinking about doing a little bit more of an articulation identifying the idea of beauty that has been prevalent in our sense of feeling satisfied about something, the idea of beauty. How is beauty influencing me to be a receptor for the good news? As you know, my shirt says, no noose is good news. But I would like to be a part of something while I'm alive that binds me to people in this process of give, receive, give, receive. It's an exchange thing that is not based on what has been considered to be the epitome of our development as human beings, which is civilization and culture, this has very little relevance to me anymore. It's much more of a deeply personal experience of every moment of my experience needs to have this sense of give, receive, and of course, the intent behind which is based on conscience that I always bring up. And obviously, this is something that people may not understand because they say, well, it's so straightforward. It's actually not straightforward. And it transmutes itself. I think, and I haven't really talked about this, but in my own thought, what happens through conscience is the word the word love is something that comes out of conscience, and then experience hopefully is also part of it. But the word love comes out of this experience of conscience, and then everything else starts to explode and open up. I believe, and love and beauty are connected. And I'm going to reflect on this some more before I make my comment. Anyway. Yeah, I'm kind of feeling it. I'm feeling a sequence of thoughts and ideas that I hope to be able to articulate to help people feel the way I feel about doing the things that I do that are not focused on anything that has been presented to me that fundamentally doesn't work. And that's why I call it the culture of death, and civilization, as Gandhi said, could be a good idea. So my YouTube's, my commentary is really concerned with pushing into this direction. Anyway.